Abby and I were married for just over 10 years, and those were 10 truly wonderful years. It felt like we were always in sync, no matter what we did, as if we could read each other's thoughts from a distance. One morning, while getting ready for work, I realized I needed new underwear and made a mental note to pick some up next time I went shopping. That evening, when I got home, I discovered that Abby had already bought me new underwear. She had gone to Target to pick up some linens that were on sale and, for reasons she couldn't quite explain, she also grabbed some underwear for me. Another time, while driving home from work, instead of turning right onto our street like I usually did, I went straight ahead for no particular reason. I didn't know why I did that, but just before I decided to turn back, I suddenly pulled into the Safeway parking lot. Out of nowhere, I had a craving for spaghetti with meat sauce, so I went inside and bought everything needed to make it. When I got home, Abby greeted me at the door and asked, "Do you mind if we have spaghetti tonight? I've been craving it all day, but I don't have the ingredients at home." These are just a couple of examples of how in tune we were with each other, and there were so many more. We met in college, started dating, fell in love, and eventually got married. We were both virgins on our wedding day, Abby because she had promised her mother on her deathbed, and me because I was too shy to have ever gotten far with a girl. Despite our lack of experience, our sex life was incredibly fulfilling, largely because of how attuned we were to each other. I instinctively knew how and where she wanted to be touched, and she had the same sense about me. As a playful gift, one of Abby's sisters gave her a box labeled Sexual Exploration Guide at her bridal shower. When Abby opened it, she found a pornographic tape inside. For the first month of our marriage, we played that tape repeatedly, experimenting with everything we saw on it. This led to us buying more porn tapes, and we became regulars at the local adult bookstore. During one light-hearted moment, I jokingly asked if she would ever bring another man over to our house to do it for real. Abby blushed and replied, "Good God, no. I'm a married woman. I could never do that with someone I don't know. And if it were someone I did know, I could never face them again." Knowing how well I understood her, I knew she meant what she said. After 10 years together, our sex life was still as lively as ever. We had sex 6 or 7 times a week, which surprised us when we compared ourselves to most of our married friends, who were only having sex twice a week or even less often. We stopped buying porn tapes eventually, but we still got ideas from magazines like Penthouse Letters, Penthouse Forum, and Gallery. During a trip to Mexico, we even made love on the little balcony outside our room. Life with us was never dull. For my 35th birthday, Abby threw a surprise party at one of the local bars. When I got home from work that night, Abby said she wanted to go out to dinner. I asked where, and she suggested the Harpies, saying she was excited to try one of their big stuffed rolls with a thick slice of Bermuda onion. We went to the bar, and the surprise party was a success. It was a Friday night, and there was live music, so the drinking and dancing were in full swing. Since it was my birthday, everyone wanted to buy me drinks. By around 11 p.m., I wasn't feeling great and eventually passed out. By midnight, Abby had joined in on the drinking, though she didn't feel as bad as I did. A few friends who thought they were sober enough to drive decided to take me home. At some point during the ride, I vaguely remember coming out of my drunken haze and seeing Abby, wearing only high heels and stockings, walking around in a circle as a group of guys kissed and groped her. I thought she protested, but I passed out before I could fully comprehend what was happening. The next morning, I woke up with a pounding headache, my mouth feeling like a cavalry regiment had trampled over it. As I stumbled to the bathroom, I swore I would never drink again. After taking my time freshening up, I went to the bedroom and saw Abby still asleep. There were clear signs that sex had happened. Her high heel was still on her foot, and God knows where the other one was. I stood there, looking at her, and wondered how last night had changed our lives. I managed to make my way to the kitchen and brewed some coffee, slowly starting to feel human again. About 2 hours later, I heard the shower running and realized Abby was awake. I was sitting on the bed when she emerged from the bathroom, and as soon as she saw me, she burst into tears. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry," she kept repeating, sobbing uncontrollably. I stood up and hugged her tightly as she buried her face in my shoulder, still crying. I led her to the bed, laid her down, and held her until she calmed down. Once she was more composed, I took her downstairs and made her some breakfast. It wasn't until mid-afternoon that she could finally bring herself to tell me what had happened. I ended up in the car with Sam, Alice, Greg, Nancy, and Sid, while Abby was put in a car with Ralph, Judy, Harry, Henry, and Al. Ralph was driving with Judy and Harry in the front, Judy sitting between them, and Abby was in the back, seated between Henry and Al. Before they had even left the parking lot, Judy was already snuggling up to Harry, and Abby, though she had almost as much to drink as I had, couldn't believe what she was seeing. Henry, sitting next to her, said, "See, just because she's married doesn't mean she can't have a little fun," and then kissed her. Abby had been kissed at parties before, especially during Christmas under the mistletoe. So feeling safe among friends, she allowed Henry to kiss her. After that, Al wanted a turn, so Abby let him kiss her as well. Then it was Henry's turn again, followed by Al's, and this back and forth continued. Soon, light tongue movements were involved, and Abby found herself responding to the kisses. She couldn't quite remember who first started touching her breasts, but between the kisses and the sensation, she began feeling hot. The kissing, the tongue, and the fondling of her breasts escalated, and before long, she noticed Judy's head in Harry's lap while Ralph, driving, simply smiled and kept on going. Despite being quite drunk, Abby knew what Judy was doing with Harry. She didn't even realize when her bra had been undone. But Abby's breasts are extremely sensitive, and soon the two men had her squirming in her seat. From the front, she heard Judy say, "Go on, girl. I knew you had it in you to become a wild one like me." Abby wasn't sure how it had all happened, but by the time I was brought into the house and thrown onto the couch, Ralph, Harry, and Judy had already exited the car. Henry stayed behind, telling them he'd come over later. Judy laughed and warned, "Don't take too long. I don't want to handle them all by myself." The short walk from the car to the house gave Abby some time to gather her thoughts. She realized that what she had done was wrong, but at the same time, she had enjoyed it. She wished she had fought harder to prevent it, but deep down, she knew that in her drunken state, Henry and Al would have overpowered her anyway. She had a good idea of what awaited her in the house and thought about running away as soon as they got inside. But she knew that wasn't going to happen. As soon as they entered the house, several men grabbed Abby, stripping her down to just her shoes and stockings. Judy let out a scream, saying, "Come on, honey. Let's show these guys what a couple of wild women can do." Judy then suggested they move the action to the bedroom, and the men carried both women upstairs, where they spent the night entertaining as many men as they wanted. By the time Abby finished telling me this story, she was crying again. I held her and reassured her that I loved her. She apologized, promising she would be mine forever and that she would never put herself in that kind of situation again. The rest of the weekend passed quietly for us. Neither of us wanted to talk about or do anything that would remind us of what had happened on Friday night. I knew Abby was still shaken by the events, and I did everything I could to shower her with love and affection, hoping to show her that I still cared deeply for her and that our future wasn't in jeopardy. Monday went fairly smoothly until about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Out of nowhere, images of Abby with other men started popping into my head. On my way home from work, while waiting at a stoplight, I couldn't shake the image of Abby being unfaithful. When I got home, Abby wasn't there, and as I walked into the kitchen, I noticed the light on the answering machine was blinking. I pressed the button, and the voice announced, "You have one new message and one old message." The new message was just from a telemarketer, so I deleted it. Our answering machine is a state-of-the-art model with more features than anyone could possibly need, and one of its functions is to record conversations even after you pick up the call. I don't think Abby realized it had this feature. If the answering machine plays the recorded message and the call is answered from a different phone, the machine keeps recording the conversation from both sides. I listened as the machine played the next message. "Hello, Abby? It's Judy. Oh, hi. Are you in the middle of something?" "No, not really. Hey, I've got some friends coming over, and we're going to have a little party. Do you want to come?" Pause followed. "I don't think I should. Come on, honey. A party would be good for you." "I'm sorry. I really don't think I should come." "You don't think you can? Or you don't think you should?" "Well, I guess I don't have to go. But you want to, don't you? I can hear it in your voice. There was a long silence before Judy continued. You can't hide it from me, Abby. I was lying on that bed next to you, remember? I know you want to do it again. Another silence followed, and then Abby replied softly, What time? As soon as you can get here. Who's going to be there? Oh, just some of the same guys you had fun with the other night. Abby added, I need to be home before David gets back. At that moment, I heard a noise behind me. I turned around and saw Abby standing in the doorway, looking as though she had just lost something precious. I just stood there, staring at her, while the rest of the message played on the machine.